Well, a day of protest and fury on this program tonight. I'm happy to be joined by the chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, Isaac Hero. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And the police spokesman, Charles Owino. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Charles. And from the statement that the IG sent immediately after the killings were confirmed, in the statement, and I quote, "We reiterate that the behavior of this police is not representative of what the National Police Service stands for, and that the few rogue elements will always be dealt with firmly according to the law."
Yes.
Are these few rogue elements?
We are a population of 100,000 police officers plus in this country, both administration and Kenya Police. We are a large family. And what happens is that as a family, sometimes you find you get forth bad people in that family, including the society that Mr. Okero leads, where you find he has colleagues who are rogue, who eat clients' money, whom they remove from the advocate's role. That does not mean that advocates are thieves. Mm-hmm. Equally, when it comes to the police, because these policemen do not come from the moon, these policemen are coming from the society. From the incident of what took place, it is a long history of what started taking place in last year. This particular officer had a personal difference with the border rider who is now deceased.
Right. Yeah.
And as it stands, I think the president of the Law Society is aware that sometimes it's a bit restrictive for us to start discussing evidence on what is pending before court. But what I want to say is that it is a very unfortunate incident, because unfortunately the person who has caused this death allegedly is our police officers, and for that reason we have a constitutional mandate to protect lives of each and every Kenyan, and when it happens, then it becomes very, very unfortunate, and that is why the Inspector General is very categorical that if an officer is rogue and has committed an offense of this nature, we have to take stern action
and we're starting from there, because the conversation and the whole public tonight disagrees from a few rogue officers. They say that, in fact, what's that number? That there's a death squad, in fact.
What I can say is that there's a general behavior of most of us Kenyans, where you find that people would want to listen to fabrications and stories. What I've said is that we are a large family, and every case must be handled within its merits. If a police officer commits an offense today, commits an offense tomorrow, those police officers must be dealt with in accordance to the law, as provided for in law. And what I can say is that blanket condemnation is not very fair, because, for example, most of the politicians who are shouting today, even when they go for public rallies, they are shouting and they have police officers in their midst. I've not seen any returning for us, our officers, and saying, policemen have become rogue, we are now going to hire Securica to take care of us.
Let's put some statistics into this.
Yes.
And IMLU,
yes.
You know them, the Independent Medical Legal Unit,
yes.
Says that 520 people from 2013 to date have been executed by the police.
It's okay. You know, when you make these statements, we have the courts of law. Unless we want to say that the judiciary is equally rogue, because we have very many cases that we have taken before court, we would want to know how many cases do we have where we have gotten convictions. And even if there would be 500 officers, it would raise concern to us.
No, those 520 people killed.
So, fine. It would raise serious concerns. You know, I'm not supposed to come here. Just a minute. I'm not supposed to come here and start defending police also blanketly on actions that have been taken and people who have died, because I would start asking you a question: how many policemen have been killed? Today, you saw the embarrassment that I was put in. When just a minute, when I left my office in a very civil way to receive memorandum. And when I left my office to receive memorandum, I even decided to walk with them to the Inspector General's office to receive memorandum once more from these people. And what they decided to do was to provoke us. I had other junior officers with me, and they decided to pour the liquid on me And what I did is to ask my people to restrain themselves, because we realized these are people who have been, who have prepared themselves. They want to provoke us. They want us to take action against them and then start condemning police.
Let us bring in the chairman.
So what I can say is that we need also some civility in what we do as a nation. And this blanket condemnation, we are not going to get policemen from Rwanda. Let us follow each and every case.
Fair enough.
And
I want to bring in the chairman so that we can have a discussion. Chairman, you hear the police spokesman, and the conversation from what I hear from the protest today is that it's not a few rogue politicians, that in fact there's a desperate and there's a culture in the police service. Is that the case?
That is the very strong suspicion. And in fact, the demonstrations that we saw today, which incidentally I must make clear, were demonstrations, a peace walk organized by the civil society organizations who are a collective of human rights defenders. The Law Society of Kenya was invited to participate as a sign of solidarity, and we did. In fact, I participated in the walk, commencing from Freedom Corner until the Supreme Court, where I joined them in addressing the gathering. The procession then proceeded on from the Supreme Court, I understand, to passing Parliament, Office of the President, and eventually to Jogo House. But for most laws, it terminated at the Supreme Court because we have our own protest peace walk on Wednesday, which is an LSK event. I understand that our civil society partners were also presenting petitions or memoranda at Jogo House. These were petitions and memoranda prepared by themselves. So having made that clarification, it is clear that the protests were about concerns about a system that appears to have failed. The fact that we have so many cases of rogue officers being able to eliminate Kenyans and continuing to work within a system undetected is what is the concern of Kenyans. We understand that we're not condemning each and every police officer with a blanket condemnation, but we are very worried that a system exists that appears to encourage, or not encourage, sorry, appears to tolerate the existence of cells that carry out these acts.
Because the question, again, going back to the statistics of IMBLU, which they say that from themselves, this is just one organization, say, between January this year to April this year, there have been 53 deaths that they have recorded themselves as an organization, 53 deaths, which they can say is execution from the police. 2015 had 25, 2014 199, 2013 and 43, totaling to 520, going undetected.
Yes.
Did it have to bring to the death of a lawyer for us to start appreciating the kind of data and numbers that are out there?
You know, it's a very distressing that we have these numbers to contemplate, but I'll tell you why the death of Willie Kimani has outraged the legal fraternity, and not just in Kenya. We are getting responses from all over Africa now. Members of the bar are writing into Law Society of Kenya to express support and outrage. The legal profession, advocates, are considered to be the guardians of the Constitution. We take an oath to defend the Constitution and to advance the rule of law and the administration of justice without fear or favor.
Do you feel that it's threatened today?
That is what we need to do. Now, when one of us is eliminated in circumstances in which he was just carrying out his duty as an advocate, that goes straight to the very anchor of the rule of law. And that must cause alarm to all of Kenyans. Because if advocates are now vulnerable, then who is safe?
Mm-hmm. Charles, let's bring in the discussion from where Isaac is taking it.
Yes.
The question that many Kenyans, you know, from then on, from 2008, and the conversation is that, well, there were Mungiki suspects who were eliminated, ICC witness, Al-Shabaab, and that conversation as it's going on, you've had that.
Yes.
How do you sit, from where you sit, and say, as the police service, we've been able to explain to the public what happened to Mungiki suspects, happened to suspected ICC witnesses, what has happened to the Al-Shabaab suspected witnesses, and then coming to, you know, the isolated incidents, if you like. How do you explain to the public all these disappearances and murders?
First of all, I would like to say that I'm lucky that I have the president of the Law Society of Kenya, a person I respect the family he comes from. This gentleman comes from a very polished father, and I would want to trust him. What I want to state is that as policemen, we are officers of the law. Our duty is to enforce laws and regulations. And as a nation, we have collective responsibility in whatever happens in this country. And that is why you find that many a times our work becomes very difficult when people do not open up to maybe come up with eyewitnessing and so many facts that come upon it. Especially this case of Mlolongo. What assisted us most was the case of Kimani, was that some 2 loyal Kenyans volunteered to give us information on something very critical that has assisted us. Many a times you hear people shouting and people making noise, and somebody even comes to witness an incident and nobody comes up to record a statement.
Are those Kenyans safe, Charles?
We even have the witness protection currently. You know, it is important for us to make use of institutions that exist. We even have the witness protection agencies today that you can go to, you can run to, and you will be protected. Because we cannot be a country that keeps on crying and we don't want to follow the rule of law. For example, when a person dies in a circumstance that you think he has been killed, he has lost his life unfairly. Usually what we do currently is that we open inquiries into cause of death and they are put before a magistrate having jurisdiction. When they come before these magistrates, evidence is brought in. And also in criminal justice system, we don't work alone. We have the DPP, we have the judiciary, we have the advocates and so on. So It's a matter of collective responsibility so that we ought to work as a team, as a nation, all other institutions present, so that we can be able to come up with solutions to these problems. For example, I've said, we are not going to get policemen from outside this country.
Yeah.
We have to do with our police officers. And you must ask yourselves, what could be the problem? What problem could we be having in the society and in the police? You've just seen what the demonstrators did. It's just good that the chairman is saying that they were not present when some people were trying.
I must get the chairman because I'm running out of time.
Just a minute. We're trying to provoke us. What I can say is simple.
Yes.
Please, we are the custodians of the law, because we are the ones who enforce laws and regulations. It is important that we work together as a team. Blanket condemnation is not going to help us. This person, who caused death, allegedly caused death, is a police officer, yes. But that does not mean that if your family there is a robber, then you are robbers. So we must be able to handle each and every case within its merits.
Chairman, here's the thing. I'm hearing the spokesman saying that it's a whole collapse system. Right, the whole judiciary has collapsed, and what we have is.
I've not said that.
No.
Right.
Yes.
But let me respond, because I'm very pleased that Mr. Wina has given this assurance. You know, first of all, even considering this particular case, even if it is considering that it is one rogue officer who is responsible for all this, that the rogue officer would have been able to achieve this within a very structured system, using a police base in the presence or within the presence of other officers who are operating, is why we are questioning whether this system is actually working. But when Mr. Wino gives us the assurance that the police are ready to receive witnesses and pursue cases, I'm very pleased to hear that, because I am now beginning to receive many inquiries from members of the public, from members of my society, who are concerned at threats that they are getting when they are in the pursuit of inquiries that may involve certain categories of the police. There is one particular inquiry from Kawangware, which is going to precipitate a habeas corpus application. 2 young men disappeared from Kawangware Chief's camp on the 1st of June. I have their names.
Yes.
We know the police vehicle in which they were taken. We know the officers who arrested them. The complaints have been made. Kawangware Chief's camp, nobody knows their fate. Eventually, through the intervention of a senior police officer at Kabete, inquiries are now beginning to move. And still, there's a lot of stonewalling. You know, the system isn't working, and Kenyans are very concerned.
Mm-hmm. All right, I must start running up. 30 seconds very quickly. Is this, are we finally seeing the end of, few rogue police officers, killing Kenyans? 30 seconds.
We need to see a complete revamp of the entire system, because Kenyans have a police force. We want a police service.
You want a police service? 30 seconds. Spokesman.
It's unfortunate that Mr. Okero has equally rogue LSK members of LSK who are advocates, who even eat clients' money, and we have never condemned him in that manner. We handle each case within its merit. I would humbly request that as a large family of the police service and members of this society, let us handle each case within its merits, and let us stop blanket condemnation, because it creates a situation where policemen will now tend from doing their work to defending themselves in what has been done. I don't want to sit here to defend ourselves. I want to sit here to explain how far we have gone in each and every investigation that we are carrying, and we want each case to be handled within its merits. And that is the only time we can have confidence. At the pace that we are working, what will happen is that members of the public will not come forth to give us information, and therefore most of our investigations will collapse. And at the end of the day, even people killing their wives or their children or their brothers, it will all be lumped on the police.
Thank you. Charles Sabino, thank you very much for making time and informing the public. And President of the Law Society of Kenya, LSK Okero, thank you very much for talking to us.